Hey guys, it's Jake here with eTrailer. Today we're going to be taking a look at, and I'm going to show you how to install the Air Force One from Demco. That's a supplemental braking system for motorhomes with air brake. We're going to be looking at this system and showing you how to install it on our 2024 Cadillac Escalade. This system is going to work great for this particular vehicle because there's lots of cool spots where you can hide all the components and you really won't even know it's installed after you get everything completed. But this system is designed to use the air signal from your motorhome, so your motorhome will have to have air brakes. If it does not have air brakes and it just has your standard electric over hydraulic brakes, you'll want to use the Demco Stay and Play Duo. It's essentially the same system, except the Stay and Play Duo, the operating unit, it's a little bit thicker, and that's because it has a little bitty compressor on the inside that creates the air signal from the electric coming from your motorhome. If you have air brakes on your motorhome, you have no worries. You just have to tap into the air system on your motorhome, and that'll send the air signal from that back to your vehicle, applying the brake. If we look into the footwell of our vehicle, this is what's going to make this kit pretty slick. On the brake pedal is our brake cylinder, and that's what we tie in our air line to from our motorhome. That's going to do the physical action of braking for us when we're not driving the vehicle and we're pulling it behind our motorhome. You'll see that there is a cable attached to the Firewall. That is going to give it an anchor point so that it has a point so that it can pull against, so it pulls the brake proportionally as you're braking in the RV. The two things on the front of our vehicle that we'll eventually have to mount up, we'll show you in the installation, is going to be our airline, which we've connected right up here. We put it in this pretty cool spot. It makes it nice and easy to connect up to. The cable here, or the hose, will come with the kit that you can connect to the motorhome. And then our breakaway switch, which if you look in our kit, this one's going to look a little different because I painted it black so that everything on the front of this vehicle matches, and it turned out pretty clean. But this is going to, if at any point that you were in a unlikely disconnect where everything here comes disconnected, this pin will be pulled and it is going to apply the brakes on the inside of the vehicle with the remainder air that's in the system, bringing your vehicle to a safe and slow stop. One of the last components that we want to talk about is going to be whether you want the kit that has the wireless coach link, which is the kit that we went with, and that's the one that I highly recommend, or the one with the physical LED indicator light. The physical LED indicator light, basically what it's designed to do is it attaches to somewhere on your dash or the back side of your mirror, and you have to look into the rear view camera of your coach while you're driving to see whether or not the system is working properly. The coach link is going to do the same thing, except you're going to have a monitor up on the dash of your vehicle, or of your motorhome. The problem with the physical LED light that goes on the back of your mirror or somewhere in here is that, one, if you have a sunny day and you have a glare in your windshield, you're not going to be able to see that light. If you're traveling a long time on the road, say maybe 1,000 miles, and that's not unlikely in a big Class A that we have here, the front of your windshield very well could be covered in all kinds of road grime, again, making it very difficult to see that LED light. I just don't like having to rely on seeing the LED light in my camera. It just takes one more difficult process out of it. So we'll hop up in the cab here and show you the coach link and how it works. This is what our coach link monitor looks like. When we hit the brakes, you can see our 3 LEDs pop up. When we let off the brakes, they go away. What this is designed to do, and what that LED indicator light is also designed to do, is if you are having a problem with your system, whether it's not coming on or it's staying on, that's what this is designed to do. You want to see that red light, those 3 red lights coming on as you push and hold the brakes. If they are staying on as you're driving down the road, that means that your system is still applying the brakes and you want to get out and check it. If you hit the brakes and they don't come on, same thing. You want to pull over, get out, check your system, make sure that your cable hasn't come loose or a wire hasn't come loose, something like that. So it's just a safety measure to tell you whether or not your system's working properly. Something that I like about the coach link that you get and you don't get with the physical LED indicator light, and I don't recommend, I particularly wouldn't recommend using this all the time because it can get quite annoying. But you can see here, I'll push and hold the brake, and it's about 7 or 8 seconds. And if that light stays on for 7 or 8 seconds, the buzzer goes off. So I would say the first couple 100 miles that you're driving, to turn that buzzer on so you know your system is continually working right. But once you let off the brakes, it will go off. With that, that will tell you, if you're cruising down the road and you have it up here, or maybe you put it closer over to your passenger side so that they can keep an eye on this. That's going to tell you whether or not your system working properly too, just so that you don't have to turn and look at the LED light, but that it'll give you that audible noise. Now, with this system, you can just get the vehicle side if your motorhome already has the system on it, but if you don't have either, you are going to have to get the motorhome side installed. If you are really feeling up for it, you can do the install in the motorhome yourself. You will have to attach to you'll have to tie into the air supply line and the metered air connection. Those are the two that you'll want. And then you'll have one line coming out of your little tank system that you have to also mount up, and you have to run it back to the back of your motorhome to be able to get that air line back to your vehicle, to flat tow it. So I usually recommend that you can get this installed at home, hopefully with the rest of this video, that you can do it. But if you don't feel comfortable doing the motorhome or the vehicle side of it, feel free to check on our dealer locator. It'll direct you to a dealer that we have confirmed that can do this installation for you. I will say on this particular motorhome, we did it on a Prevost Marathon. It was very, very difficult. So I would definitely have a dealer do that side, and then you can get this side done, hopefully with our help. But with that being said, let's go ahead and show you how to do it. To begin our installation, I like to get all of my components mounted up first, and then you can just connect them all with the wiring and the hoses necessary. To start off, we're going to mount up our main operating unit, and this is a great place for it. It's underneath this plastic cover here. We took that off because we had to take the front fascia off to get our base plate in place. All I did here was line it up, draw two holes, or draw two dots where the holes in our bracket is for our Air Force One, drilled two holes, and then used a couple of nuts, a couple bolts to bolt it right to this flange. It's very, very sturdy. It doesn't make any noise when if it moves a little bit. So that'll be a great spot for it. It'll be out of the way. This cover goes back on fine. I will say you do have to mount that flange behind the pinch weld here because it does not fit in front of it. Onto our breakaway switch, which is down by our bumper. You'll notice that our breakaway switch is black. That is because I painted it. The owner of this vehicle wants everything to look very, very nice, neat, and clean on the front, so I painted it black so it blends in a little bit better. But we used the bracket that came with our base plate. This is a Blue Ox base plate. It mounts directly to that bracket behind our 6-pole. So got that mounted up. With the 2 poles that are sticking out of the end of our base plate, what I did was, the poles are there for you to attach a 6-pole to. I cut them about 1.5 inches short so that it tucked it back a little bit further under the bumper. Now for our air fitting, if you pop this little triangular piece out, there's a little square hole right behind it. What you can do is you take that bracket for the air fitting, tuck it back in there. I did have to grind a little bit off each side for it to fit a little bit better. But you want to take that bracket, slide it back in there, drill your 2 holes up through the plastic, and then all I did was you can color a little black dot here on the end of your the rubber cap, and then take this cover, push it straight on as if you're going to put it back on. It'll stamp a little black dot on the back of this cover, drill your hole, and slide it right back over, and it makes for a really nice, clean install. And finally, down by our brake pedal, we're going to have to attach our brake cylinder to the brake pedal. And conveniently enough, on the Firewall, there is a stud that is holding a carpet retention piece of plastic, and it just kind of holds the carpet there nice and neat. What you can do is you can take that plastic piece off and then attach the anchor to that stud that is welded into the Firewall. Now we need to start getting everything connected up to each other. We're going to start with our vacuum line. We do not have to use this because our vehicle does not have a vacuum line. It has an electronic brake booster, so we will not have to use this particular component. What we do have to do is we're going to take this hose, slide it over it, then we'll take our plug, we're going to plug that, and then in your kit, you're going to have in that same bag with the plug, you're going to have a little cone-shaped rubber piece, and that is a seal that goes inside of this little port, and then a little acorn nut that we're going to spin onto the top of that. The other two connections for our air lines on the front of our main operating unit are going to be our air line in, which it needs to go down to the front bumper, and our air line out. The air line out needs to go into that brake cylinder on the brake pedal of our vehicle. When you're making these airline connections, you want to make sure you have a nice straight cut on the airline tubing itself. That is what's going to ensure a proper seal, because it has an O-ring that grips around it. And if it's not perfectly straight or perfectly flat, the O-ring could sit kind of off kilter, and that's not going to give you a proper seal. If you look down here by the fitting, the way that these airlines are going to work is you can see the lettering on this airline. I'll start to push it in. I can feel a stop right there, but if you watch the lettering, it pushes in just a little bit further, maybe a 1/4 inch, 1/8 inch, something like that. That is, you want to kind of have the airline pop in. That's getting past that O-ring that we were just talking about, and that's what's going to give it a proper seal. So we'll route our airlines, the in down to the bumper and the out to our brake pedal. We've got our airline tubing coming out for the air out, and I've got it routed up. I zip tied it off along the way over here. I've got it running this direction with the factory lines. To run our airline into the footwell, what we did was we connected it up there, which we just showed you, ran it up underneath this beam, zip tied it off to anything that it passes that is not moving. So one of these braces, we just zip tied it off, ran it up underneath this. Now I've got it kind of rough running along the same path as these lines here. I'll run it up behind our fluid there, and then it's going to go into the footwell of our vehicle through a little grommet on the firewall. That's where our main big electrical harness is coming out. There's a little nib coming out of it that looks like it's like a little finger, and it's solid on the end. Just cut the end off. That is designed to run auxiliary wiring inside of your vehicle. You'll notice from the inside, it's a straight shot. There's no resistance, so cut the end of it off that. Run your airline through, and then while we're doing this, we're going to run the red wire for our coach link inside too. Now when it comes to the electrical connections for under our dash, we've got our coach link here, we've got our reed switch that's on our brake cylinder. Starting with the reed switch that's on the brake cylinder, we're going to have a brown and a blue wire. The blue wire needs to go to a body ground, which we just used a self-tapper, tapped it into the firewall back here that you can see on our little yellow ring terminal. The brown wire is going to go to the white wire for our coach link. The red wire from our coach link is going to go to that red wire that we have coming through the firewall going out to our battery. Now we're just using a heat gun to heat shrink all of our butt connectors, and then we can get this tied up in a safe place. You'll have a black and an orange wire coming up from your breakaway switch. You'll need to run those up here. You almost always are going to have to extend those, so we just extended them using black wire. The black wire from our breakaway switch needs to get connected to one of the black wires on our main operating unit. The other black wire on our main operating unit will need to go to a ground, which we just grounded it right here. That should do just fine. And then the orange wire on our breakaway switch needs to come up, and you can see we've got it running right here. Again, like I said, I used a black wire because it's just most common what we have around here. This is going to go to a fuse holder and then eventually to the battery. Now the last thing we need to do for our Air Force One system is going to connect the fuse connector to our black wire that we ran up for because of the orange wire from our breakaway switch. And then what I do is I always just tie that red wire that we have going to the power for our braking system underneath the footwell, the one that we ran out. You just tie that into the same fuse holder and then put it onto the battery. With this vehicle, you are going to have a battery disconnect. That's why this kind of looks a little different from factory. And then just trim out your fuse box or your battery box lid to be able to accommodate these larger wires. Well guys, hopefully this video was able to help you decide whether or not this kit is right for you in your 2024 Cadillac Escalade.